Thank you for listening to Placeholder Music.
Alright, that's the jingle for RGCWV, Random Geek Culture, West Virginia. I am your co-host, Luke Hersey, and this is my longest friend, Mike Mello. Mike, say hi to everybody.
I'm kind of a co-host too, but not co-hosty as you are.
Well,
you are the more of a co-host, the mo-host, if you will.
The mo-host.
Yeah.
So,
mo-host, mo-problems.
Mo-host, mo-problems. Yeah, exactly. So welcome to the podcast. So I wanted to take this opportunity to tell you exactly what you're getting yourself into. We are going to be talking about exactly what the name implies. All geek culture. We're going to be talking about movies. We're going to be talking about video games. We're going to be talking about TV. We're going to be talking about toys even. Anything that really interests us as geeks. And hopefully you'll get something out of this podcast too. Because in my opinion, there's a little bit of geek in every single one of us. Now, one of the things that I always like to ask everybody is, what is it in this world that makes you geek out? Now, for me, it's anything Legend of Zelda associated. It's 80s pop music. And it's also really cool DIY projects like Raspberry Pis and Adreno circuits. So, enough about what the show is, and let's dive right into what the show is. Wait, no, that didn't sound right. You know what, let's just go with it. I did want to make a regular thing that we were going to talk about, what games we're playing, what books we're reading, what shows we're watching. So right now I'm in the middle of reading, I don't know if you're familiar with Wise Man's Fear. It's part of the King Killer Chronicles.
Nice.
The first book was The Name of the Wind. And it's...
Spoilers.
Yeah.
The name is Wind. Or Windy.
Actually, you need to read the book because it's not.
Did I just run it? Oh, okay.
Oh.
All right.
By Rothfuss. Patrick Rothfuss. Yeah, that's it. And it's... I mean, the first one was very Harry Potter-esque. He was learning magic, but not magic in the respect of magic like, Harry Potter, where it's a supernatural force. Magic in the respect of in the book, they make it almost scientific. What's called in the book sympathy, where you can create a sympathetic link between two objects, and whatever happens to the one object can happen to the other object. So in one part of the story, he has to run into this place that's got that's on fire. So what he does is he creates a sympathetic link between his cloak and the barrel of water. So when he runs into the fire, even though he's, the water's getting hot, but it's
hot water.
Yeah, it's not burning him as bad as the fire would. So from what I understand, Michael, you have written a book.
I'm glad you brought that up because I'm not a book reader per se. It's more of an attention span thing than anything. Where I will buy a book, I will open the book, I will look at the first 2 pages of the book, and then I'll close the book and never look at it again. Anyways, my book, I haven't given you an update in a while personally. I have a tentative release date, which is November 7th.
Really?
Yep. It's happening soon.
Are you going to do any book signings or anything?
Yes, that is the plan. I'm still kind of working out the marketing strategy because that's kind of one of the fun things I get to do. But it's being released through Crescent Books. I'm still working on the final touches. And I should be done with that by probably end of this week.
I would like to say I finished it, but I didn't. I probably got maybe a third of the way through, and I stopped reading it. And it wasn't so much a lack of wanting; it was just a lack of time. So I said earlier that I read books, but that's not entirely accurate. I have an Audible subscription, and I listen to books. It's what I do on my commute. So
Ah,
yeah, that's what you should do. I mean, you
that's a
drive
sweet
more
cheat.
than I do.
I do. I'm mostly podcasting now, and I've got a full schedule of that.
Yeah.
I got like a Monday podcast, a Wednesday podcast, and so on.
What is
So
your favorite podcast anyway?
uh, I like Punch Up the Jam. That one's pretty good.
Okay.
And it's definitely worth checking out. The one I listen to the most is actually a lot of the ones I listen to are NPR ones.
Yeah.
And Up First is the one I listen to the most, just because it's a daily morning podcast. It's like 12 minutes, and it tells you everything going on that day. And I'm like, I'm down with that. In 12 minutes, and my news is over. I don't have to think about it again the rest of the day. I'll take it.
I keep wanting to start. What is it? The Rent and Links podcast. What is it? Ear Biscuits? Yeah, Ear Biscuits.
Yeah. Yep. It's all good. But I have considered the idea of doing an Audible subscription at one time or another. And I feel like it's like Netflix, because I have Netflix, and it takes me as long as it takes to watch a movie to pick out something to watch. So a lot of times I just get frustrated and stop.
Yeah.
So speaking of Netflix, I'm gonna switch over to watching things.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, by the way, the name of my book is Heart Spark. I should mention that because I didn't actually mention the title, and it's a sci-fi space western with a lot of mystery and intrigue, and we're still writing the synopsis, so I don't want to say anything that will spoil it. Honestly, if I had to say that it shared DNA of any type of Japanese anime type thing, I would say it more closely resembles Final Fantasy VII.
Really?
And that you have like a looming world-destroying event hanging over everyone's head.
Spoilers.
Spoilers. It's not really a spoiler. It's kind of on the book cover.
Yeah. Oh, is that what that is?
But also, you have a central character who is unsure of who they are.
Yeah.
And it's about a journey to find out who they actually are.
Mm-hmm.
So those two things play into it more than anything else. The DNA it shares with Cowboy Bebop is that it's bounty hunters in space, more or less, and you have one of the crew members who's a hacker. Mostly coincidental stuff, like the hacking thing. I didn't even realize till a lot later. I was like, huh, they both have hackers. But I feel like if you're in space doing criminal type justice work, I guess that's what you call bounty hunters.
Yeah.
I feel like having a hacker would be a necessary thing to have on your crew.
Yeah. Well, it would. I mean, you would think so. And that's one of the things that I always wondered why they didn't expound more into that in Firefly. Though, of course, they probably would have, going farther in the series, if they had done, 10 seasons like they had planned.
Yeah, if they had 10 years to expand it, then it's hard to tell what it would have become.
God, man, that show, it just breaks my heart. And the thing is I didn't watch it until last summer because I knew I would like it. Because I knew that I would be heartbroken that they didn't continue it.
I watched it a couple years ago, and it stopped just as it was getting good.
Yeah.
I kind of did it out of order because I watched the movie before I watched those, and I didn't really care for the movie.
You know what? The movie wasn't what it was supposed to be. The only thing that the movie was it was tying up the loose ends, the story plot points that they didn't get to say in the show that they wanted to.
Yeah, they were basically squeezing 10 years worth of ideas into 2 hours.
Yeah, and here's a question.
All right.
Is it better to leave it unsaid than to rush it?
I prefer the unsaid because you could tell a story more in the visual than a lot of dialogue.
Yeah. Did you ever watch the show Reboot?
I watched it very early on when it was just a cheesy kids show, and then but then not again until it was like 3 episodes left, and it was like an actual serious anime type.
Enzo was all grown up and everything.
Yeah, kind of a dystopian type of deal.
Oh man, it was so good.
Yeah, and that was great.
Yeah, well, they actually did come out with a movie.
A reboot?
Yeah, a reboot of the reboot. No, they came out with a movie that tied up a lot, but then it ended up on a cliffhanger because they had planned to make a second movie after that.
Yeah, and I was trying to think of something that I can compare that to, and I think I want to say Arrested Development. because it ended after the third season, and I liked where it ended. And if it hadn't started again, I would have been fine with that. And I'm actually one of the people who really enjoyed the way the fourth season was structured, because you have one layer, and then they keep adding layers and layers on that tie everything together.
The original fourth season or the remix?
I have not seen the remix yet.
Oh man, I watched. Okay, so I watched the first couple episodes of fourth season when they first released, and I didn't like it. I had a hard time getting into it.
I've heard that with a lot of people too.
And then I just watched the remix, and I loved it.
Yep.
I mean, it wasn't as good as season 1, 2, and 3.
Right. No,
but
I
it
agree
was
with that.
like the rest of the show. Watch the remix; it's good. Now, season 5, I don't know why they only had like 5 episodes. It was ridiculous. I was so angry.
I don't think that's the whole season either, because it doesn't tie up very
well.
No,
it does not. It doesn't at all.
And if you watched Disenchantment, it's kind of the same way.
Oh, have you watched it yet?
Yes, I have.
Oh man.
All right.
So,
Heartspark coming to a book seller near you, or Amazon, or especially Amazon.
Yeah.
There in the commercial.
Tell me about
that. Was a word from our sponsor.
Yeah, that was a word from our sponsor. We don't have one yet.
All right. So Disenchantment. It was a slow burn.
Really.
I expected it to be like Futurama, and the Fry, Bender, Leela archetype is definitely there in the 3 main characters.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely a different beast from Futurama. The thing that surprised me about it is I expected it to be like a straight up satire, the way the Futurama was about the future and the way Simpsons was about modern society and pop culture. Because there's a huge well right now to dip into with Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings and all that.
Are you keeping up with that, by the way?
I am not. We'll get that in a little bit.
Okay.
So anyways, but they don't really touch much on any of that at all. Like I'm shocked at how free of satire the show actually is. There's a Hansel and Gretel bit, which is pretty good, but as far as like modern or just pop culture in general, it's pretty much his own show, and that's what really surprised me about it.
I actually heard from one guy, because I watched a review of it earlier this week. I still haven't watched it myself, but he did say one thing that made it not so pertinent for me to watch.
All right.
He said, "I think they're a little late to the game. If they were going to make fun of Game of Thrones and that kind of stuff, they should have done this 5 years ago."
See, I don't really think they did though. I thought it set out to tell its own story, and I think it did that without bogging it down with any pop culture references or things like that. Like I said, there's a few things. There's a bit with the sword chair in the beginning. I don't know what that's called. I hope there's no proper name for it. So the best character in the show, and this is where, well, first of all, it ends on a cliffhanger. So watch out for that. Don't get too excited to watch it thinking you're going to watch a complete season, because it'll keep you wanting more.
So don't go into it like I did with Arrested Development season 5.
Yeah, let's go with that. So the best character on the show is Lucy, who is a demon.
Yeah, I saw that.
And he's a very Bender-esque demon.
Bender-esque demon.
Which, Bender himself could have easily been a demon anyways, but yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, I love that character, and I'm like, I don't want to love a demon. But
I mean, of course we like Rick, and Rick is not a good guy.
Sure.
Have you been watching Rick and Morty?
No.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. We've got to get somebody else on this podcast.
I agree. That's why when you sent me the list today, I was like, I don't know about any of these things.
You know about some of them.
Yeah, some of them. Well, the thing is, and I love Dan Harmon, and Community is one of the best primetime shows to be on in the last 20 years.
I never watched Community
See,
before
we're
I
even now.
watched Rick and Morty. And
We're even
after
now.
I finished Rick and Morty, I was like, I want more! So that's why I started Community. And oh my god, one of the best shows ever up until season 4, episode 4.
Agreed. Well, just season 4 entirely.
When Donald Glover leaves, it
that might have been 5th season, but the point is, Dan Harmon left in the 4th season, and so that's why
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's why. Well, he got fired actually, or quit, or there was a lot of drama there. So that's why the show
Dan Harmon having drama. That's so surprising. Yeah, Szechuan sauce. Woo!
But that's why the show kind of tanked in the 4th season.
Yeah.
But he came back for the 5th season, and I think every season after that. And at that point, people were coming and going, and there was no way to really keep the magic of the first 3 seasons. But the first 3 seasons are just absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
But I do want to return to Rick and Morty, though.
Yeah. Which, by the way, Rick and Morty has won the Emmy.
What did they win for?
Best animated cartoon.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Or animated series. Yeah, of course, animated cartoon.
Well, it doesn't surprise me because it goes back to where the part about Dan Harmon being brilliant.
Yeah, it's an amazing show.
There's been a few where I've seen the synopsis of it. And I'm like, oh, that seems interesting. Like the Pickle Rick episode, which obviously is like the watershed moment for the series. And maybe get Schwiffy. If I pronounce that right, I may not have.
Well, I mean, you don't watch the show, so I mean, I can completely understand.
But I appreciate memes, and so that's where I pick up a lot of my pop culture. A lot of my knowledge these days is meme based. But,
funny story. That's how I got into Game of Thrones.
Huh?
The whole winter is coming. Brace yourself, meme. That's why I got into that one.
And you're like, what? What's Boromir doing? He died before that happened. Spoilers.
Spoilers. So what games are you playing right now, anyway?
I just started Final Fantasy 15 because it was $20 on the PS4 store, and I haven't gotten too far into it. I've mostly just been driving because I guess it's like Gran Turismo meets Final Fantasy apparently.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been driving. I'm to the ocean or a sea or something like that, which I think I'm still basically in the part of the game before the story actually starts.
Yeah, right before this. When you're driving to the ocean, that's right before the wedding or whatever. And
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, and you're it's about to change a lot. See, and that's the thing. How many hours are you into it?
2, maybe.
Oh, okay. 2. All right.
Maybe so, 2 to 4, somewhere in there.
Okay. See, all right. So, the version I'm playing, the Pocket Edition for Switch.
I see what you're doing.
Yeah. I was about that far before I was getting to the ocean, and they say it's the abridged version of the actual Final Fantasy 15 game, but it sounds like the first half of the game before the meat of the game, it seems like it's pretty close in timing and everything.
Okay. So far it seems like, well, I guess you need that first little bit to understand the game mechanics and all that.
Yeah,
and you do need that because I don't know how many times I pulled over and got out of the car accidentally.
See, that's the thing. In the Pocket Edition, you have no control over the car.
Oh, okay.
You can go from one lane to another while you're driving down the 2-lane road, and you can go into the other lane when another car is coming. I was kind of hoping there was going to be some kind of accident or something, but they just swerved out of the way. It's such a letdown.
They switched out random encounters for road rage encounters, apparently.
Yeah, it's a good game. I'm really enjoying the Switch HD version, and you can definitely tell that they upped the graphics quite a bit for the console release. Because for the Pocket edition on the Android and iPhone, it was pretty good, but you could definitely see that it was it was very limited in its graphical capabilities. But on the TV, I mean, on my 50-inch, it still looks really good.
All right.
Though I will say that it feels much better playing it on the handheld mode.
Yeah, that's the way I play the Switch too. When I played Breath of the Wild, I probably spent an hour of that game on the actual TV, and then the rest was just chilling with the handheld.
Oh man, see, I with Breath of the Wild, my preference was the TV. I mean, I would move to the couch if Cassie and Bella were watching a TV show or something. But
Right.
yeah, I played Breath of the Wild quite a bit.
I think part of my problem too is I have my console is set up in the next room, and I have a hole through the wall that connects to the TV.
Mm-hmm.
And so because the base is in the other room, it has some connectivity issues through the wall apparently,
Oh.
where it'll hiccup a little bit when you're trying to move around. So not a great range on it.
Yeah, that's true.
No, I remember like the GameCube controller, the wireless one. You could go clear down the street and still be able to play.
Mine still works. I was using it the other day.
Nice.
Yeah, in fact, actually, I got a GameCube controller converter for my Switch, so I can play Smash Brothers on a GameCube controller.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that, but also Fallout 76 comes out like that same time or the month before, and I can't do both. Plus, I got to get Final Fantasy 15 done before then.
Dude, you gotta get.
What?
You know, it really disappoints me that we've got Fallout 76 on 2 different platforms.
Well, that's the only option I got.
Why does Sony got to be so dumb?
I agree. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go looking for Seneca Rocks.
Yeah.
Because this is a watershed moment for West Virginia. This is probably the single best tourism related thing to ever happen in West Virginia.
Yeah.
And you know, Wrong Turn didn't get it done for some reason, so it's all up to Fallout.
Yeah, and I hope it doesn't hurt our reputation like the wonderful whites of West Virginia.
I think we'll be okay.
Yeah.
If nothing else, you know, you can see Woodburn Hall in a video game. So what's not to like?
What's not to like? Though, have you looked at the map?
I have, and I've scrutinized the map and have made overlays of the actual West Virginia map with that map, and it's gotten maddening, so I've stopped doing that.
Yeah, this is one of the things that actually really, really made me angry. But then I was like, you know, started thinking of it from Bethesda's standpoint. They put Morgantown in the location of Fairmont. Morgantown is at Three Rivers, which is where Fairmont is.
Isn't Fairmont basically Morgantown at this point, though?
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing.
You know, it only needs about 15 more miles to encroach upon Marion County, and you got it.
Yeah, but I mean that's the thing. From Bethesda's standpoint, I can understand why they did it, especially since what I would like them to do though is have a few Fairmont nods. I would like them to have the Baptist church where the first Father's Day was.
Right.
I would like that there. I mean, they have Grafton. I would hope that they at least put the church where the first Mother's Day was.
Well, you get the Moundsville prison has been confirmed.
Yeah.
I've been told that the Weston Asylum is in there, which that'd be my second alternate location to set up a camp at.
Mm-hmm.
Camden Park in Huntington's there, so and the Green Bank Telescope appears to be there. There's a telescope on the map. I'm assuming that's what it is.
Yeah, no, I was watching a interview with one of the developers, and Green Bank is in it.
Sweet. So I mean, we're just like, me personally, this is like right down the road from there, so I can walk it.
Yeah, it's. I mean, this is gonna be good for West Virginia, and I don't know. Oh, okay. So we talked about what you've been playing.
What are you playing, baby?
I don't
know why I called you that.
Don't call me baby. Don't call me baby. I am serious, and don't call me Shirley.
But I don't want to call you Lukey because your wife calls you that too, and that's basically the same thing as calling you baby.
So you know about Final Fantasy 15.
Right.
Also, I I got Nintendo Online today.
Nice.
No. Man, it's so dumb. It's so dumb right now.
Shots fired.
I mean, I know that this is going to help them increase their infrastructure so that Super Smash Brothers Online doesn't suck. But right now, it sucks.
They got time to tweak it.
Okay,
Here's 2 months to tweak it.
Here's my biggest complaint.
All right.
The Nintendo games that they got on there, whatever, it's fine. It's a nice little addition. It's a nice little freebie because it's definitely not the selling service. The thing that's the selling service is the cloud saves and the online play. And the online play is not any good right now, especially for the Nintendo games, if you don't have any friends. If you don't have any friends on Nintendo, I do have some friends, a few. I have a few friends.
It's like having friends on PS4.
Yeah, exactly. So if you don't have any friends on the new Nintendo service, especially on the NES games, I wanted to jump in and just play with somebody random, play some Tecmo Bowl, or play some hockey, or play some baseball, or play some tennis. I don't know how we have so many sports titles right now, but I just wanted to do that. There's no matchmaking. You can only join with people that you're friends with.
Huh.
So there's that.
But to clarify, you can play 2-player NES games?
In theory, I don't know. I guess so. I mean, the option's there.
No, I have not heard that, but that would be a sweet selling point.
Yeah, it is. It is. And,
hey, my friend in Hawaii, you want to play some Super Mario Brothers? You can be Luigi.
Yeah, you could be Luigi. Even though I hear that the internet out there in Hawaii is not that great. It's got a pretty high latency. But
yeah, they got a long cable to run across the sea. The Pacific.
The Pacific. Yes.
Right.
They do.
Specifically, that's what they need.
Specifically, that's what they need. So, so that's one thing.
All right.
But okay, so I don't understand why, if the service allows for cloud saving, if I have to go into the properties of every single individual game and select it for cloud save, it doesn't automatically back up your cloud saves at this point unless you go do that initial point. Now you can set it so that it can be automatically backed up continuously, but that first time you have to set it.
My guess, and the only criticism I've read so far,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a sea of criticism, so I just picked one.
Yeah.
What was that? If you fail to pay for it or discontinue the service, it will not keep them if you decide to re-up your service later.
Yeah, and I mean, I understand, but I understand that.
Well, it makes sense to me to have that not as a default for that reason. If you're switching over to the cloud saves, and you're basically agreeing that, hey, if I don't pay my bill, then you can do whatever you want with my save files. Take an axe to them or light them on fire or something.
Well, the lighting them on fire is exactly what Nintendo's doing with them if you lapse on your account. So
I would agree with that.
And the first time that somebody forgets to update their credit card information, that there's going to be some uproar online. That's going to happen.
Oh, I know. That's always been a paranoia I've had because I have iTunes service.
Yeah.
Or not iTunes, iCloud.
Yeah.
And I always get so concerned. My credit card will expire and I won't get it updated, and then I'll lose 200 gigabytes worth of stuff that I worked on.
Yeah.
It's book. My Photoshop files.
Your Photoshop.
My memes. My memes.
Your memes. Yeah, I thought everybody did it on their phone nowadays. You still do memes on your computer?
I'm old school like that.
Oh, okay. So, but the other game I'm playing is Octopath.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
You've been talking that up quite a bit lately.
Octopath. Oh, it's such a good game. It's such a good game. And you know what? The story is just okay. I mean,
that was literally my next question.
The story is okay. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that the story's not the best. Because everything else is.
It's people who like stories, it's not okay.
The battle system... Well, see, that's the thing. Usually the story is the selling point for me. But, you know... Okay, so, like, Breath of the Wild. The story was okay. But the gameplay... Yeah, I know. A bunch of people like the story.
I was actually talking about that today with somebody. Zelda has never been that strong as far as the end of the game goes, as far as, like, the post-climax.
Oh, see, that's the thing, though. The Zelda in Breath of the Wild is by far the best Zelda. Princess Zelda.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
Now,
I agree with that completely.
Very close to, by the end of the story, by the end of Breath of the Wild, Zelda was very experienced and very wise. She's the Triforce of Wisdom.
Right.
And she almost had the same resolve as the Princess Zelda throughout all of Twilight Princess.
I can see that. And that was the thing I liked about Breath of the Wild, is it was more about her character development than Link's or anybody else's.
Yeah.
Although everybody else developed as well.
Yeah. And I tell you what, man, I really, really liked playing the, what is it, the Hero's Quest? Yeah. I did not realize that I was playing the Hero's Quest when I was playing it. So, for anybody that hasn't played it yet, just get the whole thing all together, because it is so much better playing it with the Hero's Quest in it and not realizing that it's a different part of the game. Plus, Link on a motorcycle. You can't argue that. Link on a motorcycle.
No, I can't. I can't even comment on it.
Yeah. So anyway, back to Octopath.
Yes.
So they have a way of telling the character and expounding on the story within the battle. They tell more about the character and their motivations and how they react and who they are more in the battle than in the written text of the game. Now, there is some audio to it for the lines and stuff like that. And they're okay, but they don't always match up. They don't always match up to what they're saying, to what they're audibly saying, to what's written on the screen. And it's annoying. So annoying sometimes.
I can see that.
There's just something about that game that just makes it so good. Now, I was talking to a guy at work today, and one of the things we were talking about was that Octopath, it's not just a good game. It's an important game. It is a game that, to me and you, looks like something familiar. To a person of the previous generation... No, not previous. Preceding.
Many generations ago.
Yeah, no, many generations now. So, after us. The generations after us. To them, this looks like it's retro. But Octopath drives it home that it's not a retro game. It is just a different art style. It'd be like if somebody went and tried to make some art that was very reminiscent of Pablo Picasso. They wouldn't say that that's retro. They would say, "Oh, this is, very reminiscent. This is a very nice homage to Pablo Picasso, and I applaud the artist," and everything like that. And that's what this game is. It doesn't patronize. It is not even a love letter. It is a game and a new art style that is almost forgotten. Do you kind of get what I'm saying?
I get that completely. I replayed. I got the Super NES Classic back in the spring, and I replayed Final Fantasy VI, and I didn't appreciate it the first time I played it because I played it on the PlayStation in the what was that called, the Anthology edition that had 4, 5, and 6 on
Oh
it.
yeah.
And so you had load screens with that since it's PlayStation, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Playing it now on like a Super NES type thing that it was meant to be played on, I just felt like it was so much better because of that, and it takes its place as one of the greatest ones, and it's partly because I miss that art style, the pixels, and the way you have to convey emotion across just 16 bits.
Yeah.
And that game pulls it off so well, and I miss games like that, and in a way I wish they would remake Final Fantasy VI with the style that Octopath has been
I totally agree.
a successor to.
Yeah, I mean, for the longest time, I thought, man, they should remake 6. They should remake 6. How would they remake 6? What would they do to remake 6? And then I was starting to think, oh, maybe they should remake 6 like they remade 3, and how they remade 5, and that worked. But 6 doesn't... Remember how I was saying it was almost patronizing, the remake? Yeah, some games, how they remake, retro style. That it would almost be that. It would almost be that in that respect where it would be patronizing.
Right.
I feel like that would give it not only the respect that it deserves, but it would it would allow it to expand into the art style that it was originally designed for.
I agree with that, and I don't mean to go off on another Final Fantasy tangent.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
But
Have fun with it.
It's basically Octopath's basically a successor to the old school Final Fantasies.
Yeah. A lot of people have said that, and they're totally right.
And immediately after playing 6, I turned around and played 7 again, and the realization I had is Final Fantasy VI's art style holds up.
Yeah.
Because if you were to recreate that as a 16-bit game, you wouldn't change a thing about it. Where if you recreate Final Fantasy VII as a 3D game, which they are now anyways, there's worlds of improvement that they could do upon it.
Yeah, there's so much to be done to it. In 6, there's very little that they would have to do to it. Exactly,
and I would almost be, like I said, patronized if they tried to make a 3D version of it, or a Final Fantasy VI remake in the same vein as Final Fantasy VII's remake.
Now, what would be nice, what I would appreciate, is if they went through and voice acted all of the lines from 6.
No, I could get behind that.
Yeah, that would be nice. I could. Sometimes I don't like to read. Sometimes I just want to play my game.
Well, the thing I realized having a daughter too is, she'd come in the room and she's a kindergartner, so she can't read yet except for a couple words. So she'll come in and she'll look at the screen and she'll be like, "Hey, what are they saying?" I'm like, I kind of explain what's going on, and she'll like, "Read it to me." And of course, that's just miles and miles of text. So
yeah,
I don't want to read a Final Fantasy story to my daughter.
Yeah,
I'll never stop.
Oh man. So yeah, I mean, and I really appreciate everybody that paid with their dollar on buying that game, because they made Square realize that there is market in the Switch.
I agree. Because they're re-releasing a lot of those games on there now. I guess the PlayStation era ones, except Final Fantasy VIII, which is hilarious to me.
I thought that was funny too. And one of my favorite YouTubers, Arlo. I don't know if you've ever watched him, but he's hilarious. Look him up.
All right.
He was saying, "Did I miss something here? Is there a reason why 8 isn't on there? I mean, did nobody like 8? I thought 8 was pretty good."
It's because 7, 8, 9. No, that doesn't work in that context of the joke.
Yeah, it doesn't.
But yeah, 8. I haven't played it since college, which is
Do you still have the VHS where you taped the ending?
Yeah, that was the thing, because it took so long to beat the game that I just recorded the ending, so I never had to beat it again. And I'm sure it exists somewhere, but I have no clue where. I can go on
never
YouTube
beat
and find
it
it now.
I actually got so far into it. I think I was right at the end, and I had gotten like, I don't know, it was like a half hour, 45 minutes, and it was nothing but GF summon to GF summon to GF summon to GF summon, and I was like, this is just...
And those are the ones you couldn't skip either.
Yeah, it's so boring. It was so boring. Now, you know what was a good game? And I love that I have it on my phone right now, and I've been replaying it. It's 9. 9 was fun. 9 was a good game.
Yeah, that's one the weird thing about that one is it does something that no other Final Fantasy game has done that I can recall, which is the first half of that game is red hot, especially the first disc of that game.
Yeah,
it's just nonstop, like what's going on, what's happening, crazy action, and then the second half just kind of peters out.
Yeah,
where every other Final Fantasy game that I can think of gets white hot in the second half.
Yeah, no, not in 7 though. 7 was action the whole way through.
Yeah, it was consistent, but there's always a distinctive
6
like,
was too.
Break.
6 was too. That both of those 6 and 7. God.
Well, in both 6 and 7, there's like a world-shattering event halfway through, and then it's about picking up the pieces.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing though. It keeps it hot the whole time, and I don't know why they don't repeat that formula, because it's not like it's. I feel like they could do that more often.
I mean, I agree too.
Yeah.
There was a great joke about why Final Fantasy VIII wasn't on there. So this is from James Stevenson. It says, when asked why Final Fantasy VIII wasn't ported to the Switch, a Square spokesman reminded us that the Switch's battery would run out long before the summon would be completed. Which I don't know if a spokesperson actually said that, but
no, but that's hilarious.
I don't doubt that.
Yeah, no, that's so funny. You know what they would do if they came out with a Final Fantasy VIII remaster? The only thing that they would have to do is add a skip button to the summons, and then not even do any other improvements, and it would sell out like hotcakes.
I agree with that, and they did that for 9, and that's probably part of the reason why 9's a superior game.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what? There was so much good story in 8. It was a pretty decent story, especially like the first half.
Yeah.
But there was so much other bad things about that game.
They were just squishing too much into it, I think.
Yeah, they were. I'm glad they recovered though. I mean 9 they already kind of had that planned, but the 10 actually sold very well.
Yeah, and 10 was a solid game.
Yeah, I actually never played it.
It's good. That was the first one that didn't have a world map, and that was a little bit upsetting to me. But other than that, I got over it. And narratively, it's a good game. It packs a lot of emotion in it.
And see, that's the thing that with 13, they didn't have a world map, and it was pretty much just a rail game the whole way through. And I'm like, man, I got to get through this so I can get to the overworld. So I can get to the overworld. And then when I finally got to the overworld, I'm like, man, this sucks. This is horrible. This is horrible. Get me back to the actual, good narrative. Because that's the thing. 13 was a really good narrative. I really enjoyed the story of 13.
I couldn't get into it. 12, though, I think is the most underrated game of the series.
Yeah, well, you know what? You're not the only one that thinks that, because that one is coming out to Switch.
And I recommend that you play it, too. Because, remember, we used to have this long conversation about how Final Fantasy VII had the best ending ever.
Mm-hmm.
And that one rivals it.
Really?
In fact, for a long time, and I haven't played it in years, but For a long time, I thought it was better.
Really?
Because it combines. It has a very Final Fantasy VII type of ending, but they also do the old school Final Fantasy IV type of ending where you close up all the characters' plot lines, which is the one thing that Final Fantasy VII did not do. Off the Air is one of the best characters in Final Fantasy history because he's just a quippable jerk, and he's got a sidekick who busts his chops whenever she can.
Yeah.
And the dialogue of that game is like just the way that words are spoken are just very well written.
Mm-hmm.
And that game comes a long way from the Spoony Bard days of Final Fantasy IV. This segment brought to you by Harshbark from Crescent Books, coming November 7th, probably.
November 7th, probably. Okay, well, thank you for listening to RGCWV, and I am your co-host, Luke Hersey, and my co-host...
Mike Mallow.
Yeah, welcome to the end. Yeah, that was dark, wasn't it?
Nah, that's the name of my next book. Welcome to the end, everybody.
Welcome to the end. All right. Mike, do you think we can make this a weekly thing?
Yeah, we'll see what we can do.
We'll see what we can do. All right.
Yep.